Blog Talk Radio.
Wake Up to 2012 and Beyond is a weekly 30-minute talk show dedicated to helping you, the spiritual seeker, wake up, remember who you are, and live a fully aware and conscious life. Hosted by Lorna Blake, a spiritual seeker and teacher, this show features guests who inspire and empower you to be your divine, magnificent self and to prepare for the 2012 dimensional shift. You'll get the information, inspiration, and motivation to take your next steps towards spiritual transformation. Get ready for an enlightening experience. Now, here's Lorna Blake.
Hello and welcome to the Wake Up Call 2012 and Beyond. I'm your host, Lorna Blake, and I'm delighted to be back with you today from Cheonan, South Korea, to share part 3 of my interview with Nancy Detweiler, former church minister and Bible scholar. I'm grateful to Nancy for sharing her wisdom with us, and I recognize that I'm here to bring more love, light, and consciousness to the planet. And so I feel thrilled to share some feedback we've received from listeners on how this interview is giving them things to think about. And so if you haven't heard parts 1 and 2 of the interview, please do go back and take a listen. All right. So one listener wrote in to say she was scared into being born again when she was only 7 years old. In her own words, quote, "I made the choice to get water baptized and be born again at age 7. And like Nancy, over the years, as I looked back and examined the idea of whether or not I was a backslider, I always held firm in the truth of, well, what do you expect from a child when you tell them if they don't do X, Y, and Z, they're going to hell after death? And remember, tomorrow is not promised." End quote. That's a very powerful feedback, and I totally relate. I want to say thank you to this listener and to all who wrote in with their comments. It's my opinion that many people are waking up to the idea that they were scared into believing and accepting many of the doctrines and tenets of their faith. That if they didn't have the idea of hell dangling over their heads or that of dying and being lost forever, they probably never would have made some of the decisions they made on religious grounds. And now, they get to free themselves from the shackles of religious enslavement forever. This is a nice segue into what we're discussing today, because in part 3 of our interview, we get into the different concepts the religious powers that be have used to enslave us, and what are the first steps to begin breaking free from the chains of enslavement. Now, do you find yourself grieving the loss of deceased loved ones and feeling disconnected from them? Nancy shares with us how to process the death of a loved one so we don't feel disconnected or deprived of a connection with them. Do you know what the Bible means when it says the kingdom of God is within you? Listen to Nancy as she explains what this really means. It's going to be very powerful, so call a friend and tell them about this, or better yet, email or share the link so they can listen in themselves. Let's pick up where we left off last week, shall we? Nancy said something so powerful, it gave me goosebumps. She said, "We are magnificent beings, but we don't know it."
And what we don't realize is that we have that already. We are magnificent beings, but we don't know it.
Oh, I love what you just said there. We are magnificent beings, but we don't know it. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that the powers that be have a vested interest in keeping us dumb, or maybe I use another word, ignorant to the fact that we are magnificent beings. So that
and if we knew that, and that's what we're learning, that's why things are changing, we would not be controlled. We could not be enslaved. We would know that everything is to be loved.
So that brings me then to the question, how specifically have the powers that be used religion to enslave us?
I think not encouraging us to discover who we are is a major way. As long as we think we're sinners and that if we don't believe this and that, we're going to hell, we can be controlled because we're scared. We're afraid of death. We're taught that we have only one life to live, and so we're afraid that if it ends early, what we consider early, then we look at that life as having been deprived. It totally changes our approach to life when we think in terms of one life. If we think in terms of reincarnation and that we reap what we sow, if we reap a lot of negativity, if we sow a lot of negativity in this lifetime, then we will reap it either in this lifetime or in another lifetime. We will make a decision much more quickly. I want to sow good seeds. So it will change our whole approach to life.
So here you're talking about the idea of not recognizing karma is one of the things. So we've basically been told that we're not encouraged to believe in ourselves, and we are basically controlled with the fear of death and hell, and this idea that we have only one life, right? This is all there is. This is all there is. And so if it ends early, we feel deprived. There's this sense of loss. I guess that's one of the other things I've been observing, Nancy, is the idea that for so many people, there's such a very big gap between us who are in the physical form and spirit, in the spirit world. There's this big gap. So if somebody goes, there is a sense that they're gone for good and they're probably in a bad place, and I don't know how to get in contact with them. I've been watching there's a psychic medium show I've been watching online called Long Island Medium, and I don't know if you've heard of it, but every time I watch it, it's about this woman, Teresa Caputo. She's an Italian woman, born Catholic, and she's still practicing Catholic, who she has the opportunity to read people, and she does it everywhere she goes, to the bakery, going to the gym, wherever she is, she has that spirit coming through and sharing such powerful stuff. And a lot of times when she approaches people and she says, she introduces herself and says, I'm a medium and I've got a message for you from spirit, there's some people who kind of jump back. It's like, whoa. And sometimes it's so painful to watch the families, how they're in grief. And I understand when somebody passes. I've had very close family members who passed, but the intense sense of, I don't know if this person is in a good place, and the sense of, disconnection from a sense of understanding, that the person is at peace, all is well. I really, I see how that can in fact give people this sense that, well, if people are on this side, this is all there is, and we don't want to deal with what happens on the other side. And so there's this huge fear, and people very often have said, well, we don't know what's going to happen when we die. Nobody knows that, so what are you talking about? Nobody can tell us. No psychic knows anything. No. So there is that piece as well, wouldn't you say, Nancy, where people, as you say, there's this thing about astrology that we're told, well, you stay away from that because that is of the devil. Reincarnation doesn't exist. And we don't believe in ourselves. So right there's huge separation.
It leaves you not knowing what life is all about, really. But one way we can tell that we're moving toward the fifth dimension as a whole, as Earth is moving, is the number of near-death experiences that are happening, and they are being documented and written about. So that anyone that wants to know what life is like on the other side can read about near-death experiences. Dr. Brian Wise, who is a hypnotherapist, he did not believe in reincarnation until he started regressing his people to work with problems in the present. And they started going back into past lives. And he could verify a lot of what they were saying. So knowledge that has been hidden from us has been coming now for decades through near-death experiences, through regression, and people are talking about it. Doctors are studying it.
That is wonderful. Wonderful to acknowledge that a lot of the information that was hidden from us, a lot of knowledge, for example, as you say, right now there's lots of near-death experiences that have been documented. So we have that. You wanted to say something more, Nancy. Go ahead.
I wanted to get back to when someone dies, because we look at it as you said, as the end. It is not. They've just moved into another room. And if the person who is grieving, they're already more open because they're grieving. And if they would just allow the feeling to come and them recognize it. We've been taught, oh, you can't do that or you can't say that because you'll be crazy. But you can feel your loved one near you. When my husband died, I could still communicate with him. I could feel him in the room. I have even felt him kiss me.
Wow.
But it's because I was open. I knew he was just in another room. I couldn't see him. His body he'd left the physical body, but we still live on.
That is amazing.
And that's what people who lose loved ones need to realize, that, yes, we miss them in the physical, but they are still with us. We can still communicate with them. And I've had all types of experiences with my my husband, who is now in spirit, because I was open to having them. So we literally deprive ourselves when we feel like we feel, say, our husband, and then we say, oh, I must be crazy. Or I must be imagining it. Don't say that to yourself. Say, hi, honey, I miss you, or, welcome the person.
Yes, totally.
And it can help a great deal with the grief, too.
I so agree with that, Nancy, and I thank you for sharing that story. I think that's so amazing that you said that, the way you experience or the way you explain somebody passing is that they're just in another room.
They just went in another room, and it's the same, like if I'm in the kitchen, I could not see my husband in the living room. But
that's a great way to see it.
Is still, their energy is still in the house.
His energy is still in the house. Wow. Yeah. I love that explanation, actually, and how you talked about, you could still feel him. You've communicated with him even, and you have actually felt him kiss you.
Well, then if something went wrong in the house and it needed repairing, I would say, okay, honey, how do I do this? And somehow I would know how to do it. And I knew that he was helping me do it.
That's incredible.
And that's something that every human being can do. There's nothing special about it.
No, I totally agree with you. And I say that because my own mother passed away, 6 years ago? Going on 6 years. And, her presence is powerfully with me. She was an incredibly strong woman, and I have felt that I have received so much of her strength. I've received more of her strength. I've become a more empowered person as a result of Mom passing. Sometimes I hear myself talking and I hear Mom coming through and I just call her name and I say, Mom, I hear you. I know. I feel her, so I love that you shared. And you said it right. You said we deprive ourselves, in that process. We cut ourselves off because we don't recognize that they are still there. And there's a reason why we don't recognize it, Nancy, because we've been taught not to believe in ourselves, not to believe what's coming through us. Would you agree?
Yes, and we're not taught to listen to our intuition. And that's our higher mind. That's the mind through which God speaks to us, is our intuitive mind. So we, in order to be free, need to focus on the intuitive mind rather than the intellect. We have a saying, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, we've just cut ourselves off.
True.
Because, if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. But it does exist. You've just chosen not to see it.
I love that. In order to be free, we need to focus on the intuitive mind because that is where the truth is. The intellect can trip us up, right? The intellect is what can keep us stuck in the three-dimensional world. And really, the power of spirit is so free-flowing and so expansive. It's way beyond this 3D reality, and that's what you're giving us the opportunity to learn about today. So
and Jesus taught the kingdom of God is within you, so that you don't look up or out to find God. God is within you. That's why I say listen to your heart. Just sit and focus on your heart area and just listen. Know that the kingdom of God is within you. And you will get insights that your intellect can never give you.
Truly. Powerful, very wise recommendation there. The kingdom of God is within you. So don't look outside to find God. Look within.
Right, God is not separate from us.
Exactly.
That's another thing that the church has taught that
I love that. I love you bringing that. I love that God is separate. Our consciousness is that God is not separate from us. And the vast majority of religious people, they're going to their place of worship looking for God, not recognizing that that's not where God is. I'm not saying you can't create a space and hold a space and God's presence be there, but God's presence is always with us.
Yes. In fact, that's in the Bible too. Paul said, we live and move and have our beings in the energy of God. There's no separation. But again, if we know that we're one with God and we're one with every part of creation, we cannot be controlled either.
So this is, okay, so what you just said, you said that if we recognize that we are one with God and one with creation, we cannot be controlled. Though that's a very powerful statement to make. And for so many people who are of a religious persuasion, we don't have that. So maybe could that be the first step that we need to take to begin breaking the shackles of religious enslavement? Would you say that's the first step?
Realizing all of this that we've been talking about is what ascension is. We've ascended to a higher level of looking at life, of approaching life.
So in that then, so Nancy, let's sort of go back a little bit. So would you say the first step people need to take in order to begin breaking the shackles of religious enslavement is to recognize their oneness with God and their oneness with creation?
That's one of the things. I think the very first thing is to realize I don't know everything. And begin to explore. We don't know what we don't know until we start exploring. And if we want to start exploring, feeling one with God, then that's one route. But however we choose, whatever we choose to explore, will take us into more knowledge.
I agree. That's great.
It's just like when you find a word that you have to look up in the dictionary. You don't remember ever having seen it before. But once you've looked it up, you'll see it repeatedly.
Truly. Yeah. And I would agree with you that the first awareness is to recognize that you don't know everything. Because one of the key elements of control, in my view, is this sense of you can't be open to other information. It's how else can I put that? It's a sense that if you question what they're teaching you in whatever your religious persuasion or your religious organization is, then somehow something is wrong with you. So
well, and many people will say, don't ask questions because
don't ask any questions because you will lose your faith, right?
Yes.
So now what you're saying is, it's important to realize you don't know everything. And it's important to ask some of those questions because you don't have anything to lose and you have everything to gain.
Right, and there's no punishment for doing so. Not from God.
That's
like
right.
in the Catholic Church, you might be excommunicated for not believing correctly. But so there could be physical repercussions there. But as far as God is concerned, you're just getting to know God better by asking questions.
That's a great point. So from the religious organization, there may be repercussions, but from the point of view of God, there's no punishment that's going to happen. There are no consequences to face. You're not going to burn in hell. That's all a lie, right? That's one of the biggest lies that we've been told.
Right, and to get to know God better, who wouldn't want to do that?
And this furthers your relationship with God. This actually puts you on a footing where you start to create and how can I say, experience an empowering connection with God. I can say for myself. I can speak for myself that coming out of the church, I mean, it was years, and I did have a relationship with God, but my relationship with God, with Spirit, with Source, is so much more powerful that, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh, it is.
To do that. Yes, totally.
And, it's so exciting.
It is. It is. I so agree with that. So, Nancy, it's been such a really great talk. I mean, I can't believe we've actually covered about an hour of our time already. Where does the time go? Wow. So, and there's still so much more to talk about. I'm really enjoying this conversation with you. I'm amazed at how time goes by quickly, and we were just beginning to get into the substance of what Nancy has to share with us on what this ascension is really all about. It's about you waking up and becoming fully conscious. And to do that, you need to be open to questioning what you believe and why you believe it. Remember what Nancy just shared with us? Your questioning what you believe has no repercussions from God. None whatsoever. It means you're not going to be punished or sent to hell for questioning what you believe, despite what you may have been taught. That was just a way of enslaving you spiritually. But now you have some steps you can take to break from those chains. It all starts with an open mind and a willingness to question. This is a way to begin to empower yourself spiritually. I truly believe we've covered some amazing points today, don't you? But let me let you in on a secret. The best is yet to come. Have you ever wondered if your minister knew more than he or she was telling you? Well, next week, we're going to discuss how ministers may find themselves caught in a catch-22 to share all the truth they know. And we speculate on what would happen if ministers and church members were to honestly open up to greater truth. Have you been told that the Bible is against astrology and God doesn't want us to participate in it? We find out what the Bible actually says about astrology. And we also find out the names of some well-known Bible characters who were, in fact, surprise, surprise, astrologers. See what I mean? So make sure that you tune in next week. Don't forget to tell a friend and share today's link. All right, until next week, it's Lorna Blake signing off. Thanks to Nancy Detweiler for her amazing insights. Thanks to you for joining us. Thanks to Ryan Sequeira, our producer. You are magnificent. I love you. I thank you. I bless the greatness that is within you. Peace and love. We're out.